So we're going to go over the study guide for your final exam. You need to write down everything that I write down in the video. If you write down everything and you're not just circling the correct answer choice and you have everything on to the side that I have written down, I will give you a 10% bonus on the final tomorrow for your final exam. So for example, if you score a 70% on the final, I will bump you up to an 80% for your final exam score. Okay? Plus, I will let you use this on your final exam. So it's going to just be in your benefit to copy down everything that I copy down. Okay, number one, name the type of function listed below. So if we look at this graph, it's our parabola U-shape. That is a quadratic function. Okay, off to the side, we're going to go over the other functions. So cube root function. So that would be your S shape. And of course, it could go either way. So it's either this one or this one. So square root function. So that would be something that looks like that. And then linear would be anything that is a straight line. So it could go that way, it could go that way, it could go that way, or it could go that way. So just something that's a straight line. Okay. Question number 2. So I'm going to rewrite this equation off to the side over here. So 3 absolute value of x plus 2 plus 3. So the first thing you want to do is look in the very front and determine which way does the graph open. So if there is no sign there, that means it's positive, that means it opens up. If you see a minus sign, then that means it's going to open down. So based off of the plus and minus, you should be able to go through your answers off to the side and be able to eliminate some, hopefully. So number 1 opens up, B opens up, C opens down, so it's not going to be C. D opens up. Okay, so next thing you want to look at is this number right here. If there is no number, that means it's normal size. So it's not fat, it's not skinny, it's just normal size. If there is a number that is greater than 1, that is your vertical stretch. That means that the graph is skinny, S for skinny. Okay? If your number is basically a fraction less than 1, then you have a vertical compression, which means that your graph is going to be wider. Okay? All right. I think it's kind of hard to determine that based off of this. In this specific case, we would have a vertical stretch. But I also think that that's going to be very difficult to look at and be able to pick the graph just based off of that. The graph is positive, so this one's going to open up. Okay. All right, next one, we are looking at the plus 2 there. If it is positive, it is backwards from the coordinate grid, so you are going to go left. If this was a negative, you would go to the right. So since ours is positive, that means we are going to go left 2. And then you're going to look at the last part right here. If this is positive, you are going to go up. If this is negative, you are going to go down. So since ours is positive, that means we are going to go up 3. Okay, so we are looking for a graph that opens up, is a vertical stretch, goes left 2 and up 3. So you are going to look at your answer choices. Looking at A, we go left 2, up 3. A looks pretty good. Look at B. This one went to the right, so it cannot be B. And then look at D. So D goes to the left, but it also went down, so it cannot be D. So the correct answer for the first one is A. Okay, number 3, write the slope-intercept form of the equation of the line. So the first thing you want to do is figure out what is the y-intercept. So you want to know, where does the graph cross the y-axis? So if you look, it's that number right there, and that number would be -5. The next thing that we need to calculate is the slope. So that would be your rise over the run. So you want to look at the corners of the graph, and you want where the graph will cross the corners evenly. Okay, so if I look here, it does not cross evenly. If I look here, it crosses evenly right there. So you are going to count. Since it's positive, I go up. So that's 1 would be positive. If you would have had to count down, then you would put a negative. Okay, and then I count, it had to go over 2, so that's 1/2. Okay, your equation of the line is y equals mx plus b. So your y-intercept is the b number, and your slope is the m number. So we're just going to plug those in. So y equals, the m number is 1/2. You leave x as x. And your b number is -5, so you just put -5. You come over to the side and figure out which one does that match. So that matches A. All right, now off to the side, we're going to go over a couple special cases. So we're going to draw this graph. So here's your coordinate grid. And let's say the graph is going like this. So let's just say it's a vertical line going up and down. So you want to figure out which axis is that line cutting through. So that line is cutting through the x-axis. So our equation is going to be an x equals, and then you need to figure out what is the number it's cutting through. So 1, 2, 3, so x equals 3, and that would be the equation for that graph there. Okay, now we're going to draw one more special case. I don't know if you will get a special case on your final, but it doesn't hurt to go over them just in case. Okay, so here's the next one. So you want to figure out which axis is this one cutting through. So now we are cutting through the y-axis, so this is going to be a y equals equation. And you want to figure out what is the number it's cutting through. Well, that would be -2. Okay, number 4, I'm going to show you 2 different methods on how to solve this. I do not care which one you use on the final. I just want to give you 2 options of doing this. So option number 1 is going to be doing substitution. So we see that these both say y equals. So I'm going to substitute -6x minus 2 in for the y on the top equation. So we're going to have -6x minus 2 equals -x plus 3. Okay. Then we're going to solve for x. So I need to get the x's on the same side. So I'm going to move this x from here to over here. So opposite of a negative would be a positive. So I'm going to add x on both sides. So -x and a -6x and a positive x would be a -5x minus 2 equals 3. We're going to move the -2 to the other side. So we're going to add 2 to both sides. So we get -5x. These 2's will just cancel, equals 5, because 3 plus 2 is 5. Then I need to do the opposite of timesing here. So we're going to divide both sides. When you are dividing, you only take the number and the sign. So we're going to divide both sides by -5. I'm going to leave x behind. So I'm going to get x equals -1. So 5 divided by -5 is -1. Okay? Then you're going to take that and you're going to plug it into either one of your original equations. It doesn't matter which one of the original equations you plug it into. It's just whatever one is you think is going to be the easiest. So I think the first one looks like it might be the easiest. The numbers are smaller. So I'm going to plug this into the first equation. So that is going to go in place of the x right there. So y equals this negative carries down, and I'm plugging in -1 for the x. When I plug in my numbers, I always put parentheses around it. Okay, so if you look here, two negatives are going to make a positive. So what we are looking at is a +1 plus a 3. So 1 plus 3 is 4. So then you're going to put your answer in x comma y format. So I have -1 comma 4 as my answer. I'm going to go through my answer choices and look, and that is letter C right there. So that is the first method you can use to work this out. Okay, option number 2 is we are going to use the answers and plug the answers into x and y. And like I said, it doesn't matter to me which method you use, just whichever one seems to be easiest. So I'm going to start with letter A. So A said 4 comma 1. Okay. So this is your x and this is the y. So the original equation that they gave us, I'm going to start with the top one, y equals -x plus 3. And what I'm going to do is plug the 4 into the x and the 1 into the y. Okay, so I'm going to plug that one into there. So 1 equals, this negative sign is going to stay in the front, and then I'm going to plug 4 into the x. So plug that into, oh, it's not -4 now, is it? It's +4. I'm going to scratch out that negative. Plus 3. Okay? All right, so what we are looking at is a negative times a positive on the 4 would be a -4 plus 3. So when I go to add these together, we are looking at -4 plus 3 is -1. And then you say, is this the same? Yes or no? This is not the same. So that tells you A is not your answer choice. Okay. I'm going to work out letter C, since we know that one is the answer choice, just so you know what it looks like when it works. Okay, so we are working with -1, +4, and our first equation is y equals -x plus 3. Okay, so we're going to plug this in for the x and 4 in for the y. So 4 equals negative parenthesis -1 plus 3. So these two negatives are going to form a positive. So 4 equals a +1 plus a 3. 1 plus 3 is 4. So 4 equals 4. That is a true statement. If you get a true statement for one equation, you have to check the second equation. You cannot assume that it works for both. So our second equation, y equals -6x minus 2. We're going to plug -1 in for x and 4 in for the y. So 4 equals -6 times -1 minus 2. -6 times -1 is a +6 minus 2. 6 minus 2 is 4. So 4 equals 4. That is a true statement. So your answer is indeed C. So you can use either option for solving number 4. Whatever you think is the easiest, that's what you need to do. Okay, number 5, I would refer back to number 2. I'm going to double check, make sure that's the right Okay, so you're going to refer back to the number 2 where it has the opens up and down, the vertical stretch, vertical compression, the left and right. All of that was written on number 2. There's no point in us writing that again. So here is our equation. We're going to work it out. Since it's positive in the front, we're going to open up. So all the ones that open down, we can cancel out. So A opens up, B, the arrows point down, so it opens down, so it's not B. C, the arrows are pointed up, so it's up, and D, the arrows are pointed up. So the only one we can eliminate is option B, just based off of which way it opens. Okay, plus 3. Remember, this does the opposite of the coordinate grid, so we are going to go left 3. And then the minus 2 means we're going to go down 2. Okay, so look at option A, we went right 3, so it's not A. Look at C, we went left 2, but we went up instead of down, so it's not C. So the answer for this one is D. Okay, number 6, your formula. We need to do the axis of symmetry. So the formula is negative b over 2a. Okay, and then the other thing I would do is look at which way does the graph open, up or down. You might be able to get an answer choice based off of that. If I look, I have a negative in the front, so this tells me that the graph has to open down. Okay, all right, so look at A. A opens up, B opens up, C opens up. So the answer has to be D just based off of which way we are opening. Now I am going to go ahead and work through the problem because I want you to see how we get it with the formula. But just know that sometimes you can get your answer just based off of which way does it open. All right, so this goes in order of the alphabet. So the first guy is your A, the second guy is your B, and the last guy is your C. Because of the negative on the B, you need to change the sign. That's what the negative says. So when you plug it in the formula, you change the sign. Do not change the sign over here on the equation. That is not where you change the sign. You change it when you plug it into the formula. So since 4 is a positive, when we write it down in the formula, we're going to put it down as a negative 4. The 2 stays consistent as a 2. Since there's no number in the front here, you have to use 1. And since it's a minus, so this is going to be a negative 1. If you type this in the calculator just like this, you will get it wrong. I promise you it will not be right. You need to multiply in the denominator first and then do your dividing. So 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. Negative 4 divided by negative 2 is a positive 2. So this would be your axis of symmetry. So your AOS is 2. Once you get that, you need to plug it into the x's. Okay, so we're going to plug that number into the x's in our equation. So we have a negative in the front, so the negative is going to stay on the outside. When you plug in your number, so this is the number we're talking about, when you plug in the 2 into the x's, you need to put it in parentheses. The negative from the very beginning is going to stay on the outside of your parentheses. Okay, then we have the squared, then we have the plus 4. We're going to plug 2 in the parentheses and then minus the 3. All right, we are going to plug that into the calculator. When we plug it in, one big string. So start with your negative, then your parenthesis, then your 2, your squared, plus 4, parentheses 2, minus 3. Pop out your number, and it gave us a 1. So your axis is, your vertex is 2, 1. Okay, so that matched up with D. The 2, 1 matched up with this spot right here on the top of the graph. Okay. Okay, number 7. Identify the vertex and the axis of symmetry. So we are using negative b over 2a again. You got your a, your b, and your c. So we are going to plug in the numbers. So b is negative 12. So when I plug it into the equation, you're going to change the sign. So I'm going to plug that in as a positive 12. Okay, notice I'm not changing the sign over here. I changed the sign in the formula over here. Okay, 2 stays the same. Your a is negative 1. So we have 12 divided by 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. 12 divided by negative 2 is negative 6. This is your axis of symmetry. So you're going to look through your axis of symmetry answers and see if anything is different than negative 6. They are all the same, so I cannot eliminate just based off of that. Okay, so the next thing that we have to do is we have to plug this into the formula. So plug this into the x's. That will give us the vertex. So you see the negative in the beginning of your equation, it's going to stay on the outside of your parentheses. Our x is negative 6. That goes on the inside. If you do not put parentheses around your negative 6, the calculator will lie, and I promise you will get it wrong. Okay, plugging in negative 6 in parentheses. Anytime you plug things in, you've got to use your parentheses. Okay, so we're going to start with the negative. So start with your negative, then your parentheses, then your number. Okay, type that in, and that gives me negative 6. So the vertex is negative 6 comma negative 6. All right, now when it comes to the axis of symmetry, if I look at B, I know it's not B. If I look at D, I know it's not D. All right, look at A and C. They look like they're the same, but they are not the same. The difference is that versus that. That is the difference right here, is Y or an X on the axis of symmetry. So anytime you do axis of symmetry, this is an X. So axis of symmetry is always your X coordinate. So the correct answer is C. It is not A because it cannot be Y. Okay. So actually, when you're doing this problem, if you see any of them that say a Y on the axis of symmetry, you can automatically cross it out. It will not be those. Okay, number 8. Identify the max and min of each value. Again, we're going to be doing negative b over 2a. So we're going to plug in 14 for the b, and I need to change the sign. So negative 14, the 2 stays. Look at your a in the front, that's going to be negative 1. Always do your multiplication before you do your division. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. Negative 14 divided by negative 2 is a positive 7. Okay. Now, based off of that, that is not your answer. So do not pick this. This is not the answer. Okay. If you pick that one, you are going to get it wrong. You must plug it into the formula. Okay. Got to plug that into the x's. If you do not plug it into the x's and you just pick the 7, it's not going to be correct. All right, so I have the negative on the outside, then I have the parenthesis. My number I'm plugging in is 7 plus 14. The number I'm plugging in is 7 minus 43. All right, I'm going to take that, plug it in as one big string into my calculator. Okay, so my calculator pops out 6. That is the answer. Okay. All right, one other thing that I want to go over with you is you can eliminate some of your answer choices based off of the max and the min. So if I look in the beginning, I know that this opens down because there's a negative in the front. So it opens down, the arrows are going to point down. If it opens down, you are going to have a maximum. That's the highest point of the graph, okay? If it opens up, your arrows will point up and you will have a minimum. So you might be able to eliminate answer choices based off of that also. Plus, if I look at that 7, that said it was a min, but this opens down, which means I have a max. So it definitely was not B. So the answer we are picking is C. All right, number 9, I'm hoping that this is one of the easiest problems on the final for you. All you have to do is plug -7 into your variable. So hopefully that will be fairly easy. So it starts with a negative, so the negative goes on the outside. You're plugging in -7 squared plus 4. Key that in as one big string into the calculator. And this is just a calculator problem. Okay, so it typed in -45. So our answer for number 9 is A. Okay, number 10, you have to look at the signs in between the parentheses. If it is a plus sign in between the parentheses, you are going to leave the signs alone. Don't change the signs. However, if you have a negative in between the parentheses, you're going to change the signs in the parentheses afterwards. When you hit the end of the parenthesis, that tells you you stop changing signs. Okay. All right. So this is going to go positive. The 6, do not forget that one. That's the number one common mistake, is forgetting to change the sign on the number immediately after the parenthesis. And that guy is going to go plus. All right. Start with your highest exponent. So the highest exponent is 3. So I'm looking at 8 plus 1 plus 1. So 8 plus 1 plus 1, that's 8 plus 2, so that is going to be a 10. So 10v to the third power. Go with your next highest exponent. We don't have 2's, but I see just singles by itself, so we have a v, a 4v, a 2v, and that looks like that's it. So 4 plus 2 is 6. So that is 6v. Okay, then the numbers by itself. So it looks like a 5 minus a 7 and a -6. If you do not know what that is, type that in as one big string. Okay, there's no harm or foul for doing that. That is going to give you -8. So our answer for number 10 is D. You could have gotten that from the very beginning because that was the only one that had a 10v to the third. All the other ones had 8. So you knew it had to be 10. So it has to be D. Okay, number 11. This is going to be your FOIL method. I'm going to rewrite the problem off to the side so that I have room to work the problem out. So we're going to start with 4v times v. So 4 times 1 is 4, and then there's a v and a v, so there's 2 v's. So 4v squared. Then we're going to do 4v times 2. So 4 times 2 is 8. So 8, and look at how many v's you have in these spots only. There's only 1, so 8v. You're going to come around and do the other numbers. -5 times v. So -5 times 1 is -5. Look in those two spots, you only have 1v. Then -5 times 2 is -10. You're going to bring down the first and the last, and you add in the middle. have 4v squared. 8 minus 5 would be 3. And then the minus 10 carries down. So your answer for number 11 is C. Okay, number 12 is going to be a synthetic division problem. So we're going to start with our box. The first thing you're going to do is put this number in the box, but you must change the sign. Okay, so instead of -1, you're going to put in a +1. You're going to go across and look for your highest degree, your highest exponent. So the highest one is 3. We're going to put down the number in front of it, so a 3. Okay, the next one we're counting down. So we're going to go 3, 2, 1, none. So the next one is 2. So your number in the front is -13. The next one would be 1. So your number in front would be 2. And the number by itself would be 3. If you had an exponent that was missing, use 0 as a placeholder for any gaps. Draw your line, bring down the first number below the line. And then you're going to multiply, then add. Okay, so 1 times 3 is 3. We put it right here. Add going up and down. -13 plus 3 is -10. -10 times 1 is -10. Add going up and down. So 2 and a -10 is a -8. -8 times 1 is -8. I'm going to put it over here. Add going up and down. So 3 and a -8 would be a -5. So when you write down your answer, you go 1 less than the highest exponent. The highest exponent was 3. So it's 3x squared. And you go down from the exponent before that. So 2, 1, then none. And the last guy is your remainder. So then you're going to look when they do their remainders is this right here. So that guy is the remainder. So it's not that one. It is in fact B. Okay, number 13. So we are looking when you have two terms, you cannot do an x. The only thing you can do is a common factor. Okay, so you cannot do an x with two terms. Okay, so you cannot do that with two terms. You must do common factor. Okay. All right, so you need to look at the numbers in the front. So I have a 1 and a 3. So what is the highest number that divides into 1 and 3 evenly? That would be a 1. So I really don't need to put that down because it's just a 1. So we're going to check the variables. Okay, so you look at the variables. Is it in all of the spots? It is. You say what is the highest exponent, you want to take out the lowest exponent. Excuse me, I misspoke earlier. What is the lowest exponent? So that is x. You start your parenthesis after that. You subtract on the exponent. So 2 minus 1 is 1. And then you have the 3. We didn't do anything with that. And 1 minus the 1 on the x's is 0. So end your parentheses. So the answer for this one is B. Okay, number 14. How many terms do we have? 1, 2, 3. That means you're going to do your x. I'm going to do it right here below the problem. So what number is in front of this? That would be a 1. So the 1's come down here. Okay, your middle number is the one that's going to come right here. This is the middle number. And then the top number is your first times the last. So this is 1 times 16. 1 times 16 is 16. Okay, so I need to multiply to 16. And then since this last sign is a plus sign here, I need to add to get 8. Okay, so we're going to use our calculator and we're going to actually use these guys as our guide. Okay, so 16 divide. And I'm going to kind of use these numbers first before I start with the 9, 8, 7, 6. Okay, so I'm going to try 4 because I see it in 2 of the answer choices. So that gives me 4. So we're going to see, does 4 plus 4 add up to 8? It does. So your 2 answers are 4 and 4. So I'm going to put the 4 here and then the other 4 here. You need to work out your signs. So since I end on a plus sign, the signs are the same. And this is what they both are. So they are both a positive. So bottoms up. So we have 1n, or just n, and these are both positive. So plus 4. Start your other one on the other side. So 1n, or just n, plus 4. Okay. All right, so this is the same thing. How many of these do we have? We have 2 of them, so that is B. Okay, so B is another way of rewriting this right here. Okay, and number 15, the last one here, you want to see what number divides into all of these evenly. I want to get these numbers the smallest. Looking at my answer choices, it looks like it's going to be either 2 or 14. So I'm going to see if 72 divides by 14. I'm going to check that one out first. It does not. So I'm going to check out 2 next. So 72 divided by 2. Yes. 64 divided by 2. Yes. Then I'm going to do 14 by 2. Yes. Okay, so we're going to take a 2 out. So based off of that, I already know E is not a choice because that's a 14. C is not a choice because there's no 2 in the front. Okay, go back to your calculator. 14 divided by 2 is 7. So I have 7n squared. 72 divided by 2 is 36. So 36n. 64 divided by 2 is 32. Okay, so you're going to bring down the 2 in front. We're going to start our X. Okay, we're going to start our answer block here. So when it comes to your numbers, you must use the numbers inside the parentheses. So those are the numbers we're going to put in the X. We do not put the 2 in the X. So your first number is 7, so 7 is going to come down here on the side. Your middle number is 36. Then you need to times these two numbers together. So we need to figure out what 7 times 32. Okay, so 7 times 32 is 224. Okay, so I'm going to kind of look at the answers. It looks like I see a 7, an 8, and a 4. So 224. So we know we need to times to 224. And since the last sign is a plus, I need to add to 36. All right, I'm going to try using the answers kind of as my guide. I'm going to try an 8. Okay, so we're going to see, does 8 plus 28 give me 36? And it does. If it didn't work, then I would go 9, 8, 7, 6 and work my way down until I get my numbers. Okay, so we're going to use 8 and 28 for our answers. So an 8 and a 28. Okay, then you need to reduce your sides. So when you go to reduce, you're just going to type this in, 8 divided by 7. That gives you a decimal. Hit the math and the enter button twice, and it just popped out the same fraction. So there's nothing I can do to reduce that. But the other one, we're going to do 28 divided by 7, and that pops out 4. And I need a placeholder underneath, so that's going to be a 1. Okay, so to reduce, you're going to divide your fractions. And when I mean fractions, I mean your numbers. Okay, so divide the numbers, then you're going to hit math and the enter button twice. And that's going to reduce your fractions for you. Okay, bottoms up on the answer. So we have 7, and they gave us an N. And then I know this guy's going to be an 8. I'll do the signs here in a minute. Okay, then over here, bottoms up, N, come over here, that is going to be a 4. Okay, so look right here. I end on a plus, so that means I have the same sign. And this is what they both are. So they are both plus signs. So plus and a plus. So the answer for this one is D. Okay, now let's go over some of the signs that you may run into on the factoring. So we're going to do another one on the bottom here just to kind of help you with the signs. This is a separate problem. Okay, we're going to start our X. Ones are coming down on the bottom. The middle number is 5. And 1 times 24 is 24. So I need to times to 24. Now, since this last sign is a minus, we are going to subtract to get 5. Okay? All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to use our calculator. I'm going to start with 9 and work my way down. I got a decimal, so I'm going to skip it. Okay, I got 8 and 3. 8 minus 3 is 5, so my two numbers are going to be 8 and 3. So I'm going to put, it doesn't matter which way they go, so an 8 and a 3. Now when it comes to the signs, if you end on a minus, you have different signs, so DS for different signs, and this is going to be the bigger number, sign of the bigger number. When you're picking the bigger number, always make sure your numbers are the one closest to the inside of the X if you have to reduce. Okay, so 8 is bigger, so 8 gets the negative, 3 gets the positive, bottoms up. So you have K minus 8, so the 1 would be here technically. Bottoms up, so 1K plus 3. All right, good luck on your final exam.